All right, and we're back for another episode of Living a Purposeful Lifestyle. I'm your host, Jason Ricks, and today I have an awesome guest to share with each and every one of you. So today I have a serial entrepreneur, a soon-to-be best-selling author, and just an all-around awesome person, mom, dog mom, and wife. And she joins us, Monica Martin. Welcome to Live in the Purposeful Lifestyle. It's so good to
Hi.
have you with us today. So let's get right into it. Monica, Monica and I met probably about a month ago. I think we were just talking about that in the green room around the 22nd of December. And her energy was just like something I have not experienced with a lot of people. And her heart for helping me and trying to breathe life into my dreams and really was partly part of the catalyst that encouraged me to even start this live show. So there was no live show prior to meeting Monica, and she just really encouraged me to go and chase my dreams. So Monica, for the audience that don't know you, I've kind of gotten to know your story. Why don't you take us back in time and kind of give the audience a good view of where you came from and how you started and how you got into being an entrepreneur.
We were joking around about going all the way back to when you were a child. I don't need to tell you all my story, but in kindergarten, I did get in trouble because I was bossy. But now I look back and I realize that I just like to take control and charge. I don't necessarily like to boss people around, but I like to help people to see like what their passions are and their dream visions and just push them in that direction. So it's always been an excitement for me, and I've always had a passion for children. So that's what I went to school for. It was early childhood growth and development. I wanted to help little people to be the best them and to believe in themselves and their dreams. Early childhood is all about self-esteem and just feeling really good about yourself. And I wanted to give that to a little person because I felt like if they could do that and believe in themselves, they can be anything. So I was a preschool teacher for 10 years. I had my own in-home daycare. My goal was to take over kinder care. I wanted to have Miss Monica's little friends all over the world. So little people could be in a space away from mom and dad that was super comfortable and playful and fun and safe. But God had different visions. So I went to a child care convention and I had met my husband now. His name is David. And we fell in love and I moved to Chicago. And to be a daycare provider in Chicagoland is very difficult. The pay is not there. So I told him that I needed to get into some kind of role where I was going to make some more money. And he said, Monica, I think you'd be really good at sales. So I got introduced to Red Bull energy drink and I worked for Power Distributing in Chicagoland for quite some time. And I really, really loved it. It was super fun. And it came very easy because I'm a people person. I love people. I like to get them excited about life and I like to rev them up, and energy was the way to go. So I worked for Red Bull for about a year and a half. And then the sales manager told me that I would be really great at liquor sales. And he contacted, it was at the time Judge and Dolph. Now it's Breakthrough Beverage, but I got a chance to work for Diageo. And they're the world's #1 wine and spirits supplier. And it was amazing. And it just came so easily because, again, I'm a people person. I've always had that fire for life. I want people to get excited. And these small businesses were really my cup of tea. I loved finding mom and dads that were just running their own little mom and pop shops, and helping them to grow their business and make money and have fun. And then I went on a sales incentive trip that I had won. I was so excited about it. I went to Mexico, and there I had a change of heart about life. I finally got a chance to cash in, so to speak, on my success. But through the process, while I was in Mexico, I saw people struggling to feed themselves in this third country. There was little children on the street begging for food, and it broke my heart. And it just changed my whole perspective on what it was that I wanted to do with the gifts and talents that God has given me.
And I think that, you shared that with me as far as that trip and how you couldn't even really enjoy the trip. I mean,
I was
because
so stinking
it,
excited about being there. There was 30 of us and we were wined and dined and treated so special. And then, yeah, I couldn't enjoy myself the way that I had imagined I would because I had this little voice inside tell me that there was a need, that these were people that were struggling and that there was more of them in the world that need.
so you're sitting on the beach, you're drinking a Mai Tai, and you have this epiphany. So when you get home from the trip, then what do you do?
I started working in a local food pantry in my spare time. I wanted to volunteer because I saw that hunger was an issue. So I tried to help out at a local food pantry to serve and use my gifts to knock on doors and tell businesses about the need that's great with the working poor. It was people who have jobs, but they couldn't necessarily pay for food and electricity and gas, water, and you name it. Kind of similar to the situation a lot of people are unfortunately in because of COVID, right? They've been forced out of their jobs. Same thing. They had to work. They did work. They had money coming in, but they just can't make ends meet. So the food pantry helped to serve them in that capacity.
Yeah, and so one of the things that I've always really admired you since I met you about a month ago is that we've talked 2 or 3 times. I admire the fact that you are always others first, you second. Never matters. Whenever we talk, you always try to find out what's going on in my world or what's going on with me first. And it's just something I've noticed about you. And it is truly living those values of how much you genuinely care about other people, which just ties in so nicely to what the show's about and about how I go about day-to-day life out in the stores with my people that work for me. So as we kind of progress from that, then can you talk to us through, or I know you've had this candy business, so I want to hear about this candy business that you started. That was your idea and the things that you wanted to do. So can you tell us about how that came to be and a little bit about that process?
Oh, sure. So after I went to Mexico, I didn't quit my job right away. I decided to stay there for quite some time. Actually, it was like May was the incentive trip, and then October is when I let go of my job and I started to pursue a dream that I had, which was Yumbits, a cookie company. They were cookies on a mission. I wanted to bake cookies and feed hungry children locally because I realized that hunger wasn't just a third world issue. It's actually in our own backyard from working at the food pantry. So that being said, I launched Yumbits and it did very, very well. And I had super much fun. But recently I tabled that, or I should say I put it on the shelf. I didn't completely stop it, but I wanted to change gears. I wanted Yumbits to turn into a candy company because everybody enjoys life when they're having something sweet and fun. And childlike faith is super important in order to pursue your dreams. And candy is a wonderful way to go back into your childhood, right? I mean, everybody loves to walk through a candy store and try new things or just see what's out there. So that's my new vision. I love the cookies, and one day maybe they will return. But for now, I want to focus on gourmet gummies and just make these cute little packages that are giftable to yourself or to somebody else to foster them and get them into pursuing their own dreams and passion. I want to remind people that they're special and that they should be treated special individually. So you own worth and value. That's what Yumbits originally was created for. It was a little gift to me from me. And I still want to continue with that, but I feel like candy is going to be the next step. So Yumbits is going to be relaunching. I'm super stoked about it. We're going to be an online candy store. And like I said, the very first thing we're going to be doing is putting together these amazing little kits that are just going to inspire you to pursue whatever it is on you to do.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know I'm like a sugar fiend. So like candy store. And that was one of the things that we immediately figured out we had in common was because as I'm thinking through of what side business or what type of a business could I start, I thrown the idea around about a candy store concept because for me, you know, I can't walk past the candy shop in the airport. So there's two or three brands out there that are prevalent in just about every airport. There's at least a candy shop, and I just end up going and buying. My favorite is the cherry gummy with the little cinnamon. They're a little bit sour, but you just find yourself in there with the bag, and you're like, okay, I'm going to get a little of this. And next thing you know, you're walking out with like a half pound of candy, and you eat it, and then you're like, wow, I ate all this candy, and I probably shouldn't have. But it's funny how isn't it funny how candy in my mind is a lot like music. It could take you and transport you back to a totally different time. You know, I've talked about it previously with other guests, is that one of my first initial responses, or one of my first, I guess, experiences with running a business was me and a friend of mine that lived up the road would go. There was a convenience store at the top of the hill called Cherry's. I could see the store from my driveway. It was probably a quarter mile up the road, straight up the hill, and we would ride the bus together. And so we would meet there in the mornings. We'd pull our money together, and we would buy now and laters. And they come, 5 or 6 in a pack, and then we would sell them individually because we would find at school you couldn't get candy. So if we had some for, say, 25 cents, we could sell them for a quarter. So when we're buying them for 50 cents for 6 and selling them for a quarter each, we had money to go blow on baseball cards and other stuff that mom and dad didn't want to pay for. So when I see now and laters, it takes me back and always makes me kind of giggle a little bit about that. So when thinking back in time, I think entrepreneurs are pretty much, I think most entrepreneurs, when you really talk to them, there was a time in their childhood where they were an entrepreneur of some sort, whether it was babysitting or whatever it may be. So did you have an experience like that when you were a child where you were out to run your own business, if you will?
Oh, yeah. I distinctly remember my friend Deanna and I. It's so funny. I didn't even think about this in like how many years, 30 plus years, not to age myself. But anyways, I was like 8 or 9 years old, and we made friendship bracelets, and we had like, I don't know, big sack full of them. We went door to door, and we're selling our friendship bracelets for $1 a piece. And it was just so fun to create them, and then to knock in, get $1 in return for something that you spent time making. It just felt so rewarding. That high, it's a high, right? So you give them something good, people are happy, you're happy, and they want to do something else. I did that with friendship bracelets. I did it with like little candy sacks. It's funny that you're talking about candies with the now and laters. I did the same thing with little brown sacks of like lunch paper bags with random candies in it way back in the day when I was a little person as well. And then I was a babysitter for many, many years, and just always look for the need. If there was a need, I would find it, and then I would figure out how I can serve the need. And I think that's what entrepreneurs do naturally.
I agree with you, and I think that's why I was saying, like, I think a lot of times in life, if you look at it, the people who do that or go on to do great things, it's weird how they started, and it's almost as if they start pursuing purpose from a very, very young age, and they have an ability to create vision and to go chase vision. And I think what happens is, as a child, you don't have all the inhibitions you do as an adult of, well, what if people don't like it? What if people don't like me? And so then you're much more aggressive with just, what's the worst that could happen? We just spent 20 hours making friendship bracelets, so who cares, right?
Yeah, it was fun making them.
Yeah,
the bonus was getting the money.
So when you're young, like you don't have all that head trash that gets in our mind that pollutes and keeps so many people from dreams. Because you and I have spent a lot of time talking about dreams and why it's so important to dream. So for the audience that hasn't been, along for that ride with us, talk a little bit about that, about why it's so important that people continue to dream. In fact, just to set this up a little bit better, I wish I could give credit, because there was a guy on LinkedIn today that wrote about dream, and he was talking about the fact that, who it was? It was Brad Norwood. It's my buddy Brad Norwood that was the one that wrote about this, and he was talking about that companies, most 50% of grown adults don't dream anymore. They just don't, and that why that psychologically and professionally can be a struggle, right? So he actually is working with a company, and it was really cool. They actually have a chief dream officer. Can you believe that?
Oh,
So they
that's
actually have,
awesome.
and basically it is somebody who mentors and coaches their brass, and also does that with their frontline salespeople. So I thought that was like amazing because I haven't ever heard of anything like that. But what better way to give back to your people than to encourage and to facilitate dreaming and chasing their dreams down. So I know I said a lot there, but I really wanted to set this up for you because trust me, folks, what she's about to say is way better than what I just said. So Monica, talk to us about dreams and why that's so important, because this is really, I think, part of your wheelhouse and part of your brilliance.
So dreams, we all have them, but a lot of times we just downplay them. I think that when you're little, it's easy to dream, but then somebody either doesn't like your dream or downplays it or makes you feel second about it. And then you start to question yourself and you get lost in the how, or trying to figure out what am I going to do in order to make that work? That is the first way to destroy your dream. You need to just stay in the vision of it. Like, what excites you? Like, have some like purpose, like vision. For instance, it says in the Bible, I'm very much into this scripture. I'm not necessarily like one that's going to beat you over the head with it, but I like it because it's more of a love exchange. I feel like those people had told their truth, and it's just there for the, and some amazing things happen in their lives, and the same thing could happen for you. So in Habakkuk, it talks about how if people don't have vision, they perish. And I think that's true, period. If you don't have anything to look forward to in life, life kind of sucks. So it's either like right now, like a lot of things are closed down. So it's an opportunity for you to go inside your own mind and think about ways that life could be awesome, or things you could create, or things that you could do that would be super fun. So we all need to dream. I think it comes innate too. Like children, that's like what they do. They use their imagination and they come up with some really rad stuff. But then somewhere, I don't know, around 7, 9 years old, some people stay in the dream world and other people just want to come to quote unquote reality, and then get browbeaten by the people around them that say, oh, well, that's not going to ever be possible. What happened to the people who made flight possible? Don't you think that there may have been some people that spoke into their lives and said it wasn't possible, but we're flying in airplanes now, right? Or Disney World, for instance. How many times did Walt Disney get turned down? I mean, it's a lot. Nobody's necessarily going to believe in your dream. You have to believe in your dream. It's your vision that comes to life. And as a result, you kind of bless other people through the process of it. And then we all get to benefit from your imagination. It's really incredible if you think about it.
Yeah, I love how you put that, and you highlighted something there, and I really want to drive this point home because I think it's important, and that is the dream is the start of innovation.
Absolutely.
And so when you look at our country and you look at the amount of innovation that occurred from, say, 1900 through, say, 1985, 86-ish, we put a man on the moon, we created the car, we created the TV. And even if you back that up to 1990 and say the invent of the computer and whatnot, in some ways, I feel like as a country, because of commercialism and consumerism, and also from the fact of we have so many things to keep us entertained, internet, TV, the list goes on, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to be purposeful, quiet, so that we can dream. In other words, you have to make space and time to dream and to innovate and to really envision your life, because it doesn't just happen. It's not just you wake up one morning and in the 2 seconds between rolling out of bed and heading the shower, it pops in your mind. You got to really think about what do you want it to be, how are you going to get there, and really think things through. So I really hope as a country at some point that we can get back to dreaming more and innovating more, because I think there's a lot of work that we could do. And I think there's a lot of great people out there in LinkedIn world and in the world in general that can help us solve problems that maybe they have short sold themselves from. And hopefully we can see some improvement with that. It's interesting because you started talking a little bit about everything being closed down and kind of how that feels, right? So I wanted to know, from talking to you, you started this book project, and I know what the book project is, but for those of you that don't know you, can you share kind of what that looks like?
Oh, sure. So I have been working on this book for like a decade, and it's an amazing compilation of all these experiences that I have happened to have with the divine. And for a long time, I didn't want to share it because I thought people would make fun of me or think that I was crazy or weird or whatever it was. But to be honest, there's been so many signs that, and they've been so incredible and so many things that have happened that I've shared these stories individually with people, and it gets them all excited that I decided it was time for it to go in a book. So during COVID, I finally got out of my own head and out of my own rejection because I was rejected. I had this great idea, right, on one hand, and on the other side, I was like, who's going to ever want to read that? Or who are you to write a book? You're not an author. You don't even do great in school with regards to literacy or writing or whatever. It's not like I went to college for that, right? So I would tell myself that, who am I to write a book? But there's a story that's inside of me that needs to come out. So at the end of the day, books are all about just stories that need to be shared. So I had to change my perspective and pivot and realize that I'm just sharing my own personal story. So the book is called Do You Think This Is All There Really Is? And like I said, I've been writing it for like a decade now, but the timing of it, especially with COVID and the craziness that's going on and the uncertainty and the fact that it's just downright scary and people are feeling like things that they used to pursue are no longer valid because, the world has changed. But we just got to change our gears, change our perspective and tune in. Like you said, right now, it's really important to be alone or to be quiet, to be still. And that's when these visions come through, right? It's when you finally take a break and you pause and you're just outside alone. And I notice people don't necessarily like to be alone anymore. And I see that they bring their handy buddy with them everywhere they go. It's like, put your phone down for a couple minutes and smell the roses outside. Go for a walk. Have the air like actually touch your face and you feel it. So many times we're just like here that we're missing out on everything else around us, including the people we're with, because we want to see what's going on in the virtual world when the reality is right here and we're just missing it. So being still is super important.
Yeah. And I think that that's all well said. I mean, being intentional with how we use our time and being intentional, you see it here, unfortunately I'm in the Midwest, I know you're in California, here we've got a little bit less restrictiveness going on. So we're able to go to restaurants and things, and you'll go to restaurants and it's amazing. You'll see families sitting around, families of four, clearly, a mom, dad. Yeah. And everybody's on their phone and you're like, okay. Yeah. So it really is, and so when you talk about, is this all that there is? I think, man, when you first told me about the book, I was like, wow, it really has a lot of, like, I'm excited about the book. I've already told you, I think that it really drives home, for a lot of people. I'm hoping that this will add hope for people and give them that light bulb moment that we decide daily is this all there is. So if you're not happy with where you're at or with what you're doing, then my recommendation is that you start taking steps to change your outcome. I talked yesterday, I talked to a gentleman and I was working with him. Great guy. He just feels stuck. He's a friend of mine from back in Texas. and he was asking me for advice. And I said, well, okay, you don't like your job now. No fault, no harm, no foul. What is it that you are looking to accomplish, or what is it that you would want to be? So if you're not doing that, what do you want to do? And he's, he wants to be a mechanic. And I said, okay, do you know how to work on cars? Well, yes, I do. I said, well, then what are you waiting for?
Right. Go do things
And
that make you
so,
happy.
well, I don't know. I don't have ASC certification. I said, you don't need an ASC certification. I said, if you go to a company and say, hey, I'll come work hard for you, will you help me get my ASE certification? I said, I could tell you 10 places in Omaha, Nebraska right now that would love to hire you if you're committed to them and you sign a commitment to work for them. So literally today, he went and talked to somebody, and he has a second job interview tomorrow. And
Awesome.
the point is, going back to the book, is that is this all that there is? And you writing your memoir is, again, it's a story about a person pursuing their purpose and their passion and accepting nothing less than those two things. And if things don't fit into the purpose and the passion, I feel confident saying this, I believe Monica doesn't do them. So if it doesn't fit in with that, she really doesn't. She doesn't like going to Costco. I found that out. So she doesn't go to Costco. She leaves that for the husband to do. But
Right.
so when do you think the book is going to be out? So I know that it's still being edited and everything. Do you have any idea when you think the audience could go and potentially put their hands on a copy of it?
Well, I'm hoping it's going to be ready by my birthday. My birthday is in May. So right now it's in the editing phase, and it's been about 3 weeks. So they said it would be 4 to 6 weeks. So very soon I should be having the finished copy of it. And then from there it goes into the creative department where we design the cover and the back of the book. So yeah, I'm super stoked. I feel really confident that May will be the time I'll actually have it in my hands. And I'm hoping that the world opens back up, because I would really love to have a launch party in a dream city that like I live in now. So I've always wanted to live in Laguna Beach, right? But I live in the city right next to it, which I'm super stoked about. And I've always wanted to live in California. So I think it would be really fun to launch a book that is all about like my dream, in my dream space with all my people that I love around me. How cool is that?
Well,
But the world needs to get open.
So I think what we should do is, we may have to do a special launch of the book episode of the Purposeful Lifestyle, whatever day or round. It doesn't have to be at this time. We could do a special time or whatever, just to celebrate that great accomplishment, and for you to have even opportunity to meet and reach more people, because I think the message in the book is going to be outstanding, and I think it's very relevant for what we're going through and where we're at now.
That would be awesome.
So I want to take you back. So we kind of glossed over this. I want to go back because this is really cool. So the cookies.
Yeah.
And I've been called the Cookie Monster for most of my adult life. So candy, cookies, sweets, that's Jay. So, I just pray every day that I don't get diabetes, because if I can't have those things, I'm going to be a miserable rascal. So could you talk to the audience, Monica, a little bit about, this cookie Yum Bits when it first started as a cookies? Because I'm telling you, there's some good, be sure to tell the story, because this is really good. And, if you go to Monica's page, so I encourage you to find her on LinkedIn, Monica Martin. She's easy to find. And I guarantee you, if you reach out and you just have a question or you want to give her some love, Monica is very easygoing, and
very personable.
Yes, very personable. So talk to me a little bit about how you got into the cookie business and how that started, because I love this story.
Okay, so I had always loved making cookies, and back in the day, I used to bring them to the Bible study. They were called Bathsheba Bites, and people would fight over them. And my husband had lost his job, and I was trying to figure out a way for us to make ends meet. So we came up with the idea of packaging the cookies and launching Yum Bits. So we're helping people locally and then me to pursue a passion and a dream, which was to launch a cookie company. So they were bite-sized, soft-baked cookies in resealable pouches with all natural ingredients, so they were good for you. And they made you feel happy. So the idea was that you would open up the package and pour out the love and eat up all the goodness. I wanted people to like give them to themselves, you know, and each cookie had a new name. So there was savor, indulge, unwind, and shine, because I wanted people to become one with the cookies and realize how absolutely amazing they were, the person who was eating the cookies, and to just be reminded to take time out for themselves and to do things that bring them joy, like eating cookies.
So this is something we haven't really talked about, but I'm curious, everything that you do always reverts back to giving. You're such a giver. And you talk about, the cookies. It's about bringing happiness and enjoying, adding a sweet day for people, right? Like in the candy, your idea with going with the relaunch with now candy, it's the same concept, just with candy. Who do you credit, in your life for where you develop the love for people? And listen, we both have shared our faith, so I know that that's part of it, but I got to believe there's some other influencers out there that really poured into that and really helped develop that as well.
So yeah, my faith is definitely first and foremost, but my mom and dad are very loving, giving people. So I believe that just the way that they raised me kind of instilled that. They were the type of people that would always give their shirt off of their back to you. And if you came over to the house, they would make you sit down and have some food. And my grandma, Sarah, she's big heart and very rich. Everybody loved her when she had passed away. Just the amount of people that wrote on her obituary page from the funeral home was incredible. And the stories that they shared about how she touched their lives, like she had always been really special to me anyways. But like that to me is what is the most important thing, is how you can make a difference in somebody else's life, how you can speak life to them, just bring them a bit of happiness or joy. I like to leave people and things better than I found them. And I believe that it was kind of just instilled in me as a child.
Wow. Yeah. So it's interesting. I think a lot about that. Like when I think about, people ask me why I am the way that I am with my team. And, the smile files and the take off Friday, and I'm always sharing the love. And the reason is because I saw my dad and how he interacted with his customers and with his employees, and he always kept the best of faith about them. He always assumed the best in others. So you never heard him say, well, I think so-and-so's lying about why they called off or any of that negativity stuff. He just was always so positive. And I can remember many times where he would do just random things. We would go to Sam's Club, and he knew that his office bookkeeper loved a certain kind of coffee, and he would buy her a big box of coffee at Sam's Club, and he would take it to her. And just some amazing. And the thing is I don't know, at a young age, at that time I was 13, 14 years old. I don't know that I internalized it from a point of view of really thinking of, well, my dad's awesome and look at what he did. I think it's like psychological or something. It gets in your mind, and then as you get older, you start realizing, like, oh my goodness, I'm becoming my dad, and
luckily, or you recognize that your dad was really special and took the personal interest in people, right?
Yeah, and
not everybody does that.
No, and I really have come to appreciate for what a great man he is. And I know that's a whole nother show about my dad that I plan to do, but I was curious if your influences were your parents, because I find that I kind of had a hunch that that's what it was, but I wanted to ask the question. So I also want to talk about, going back, we were talking about the cookie company. You got quite a bit of publicity. I mean, there's some pretty cool video clips out there of you and getting interviewed. And so, one of the questions we had before the show started was, what was it like being a celebrity when you first launched the cookie company?
Celebrity. That was funny. That's a funny perspective. No celebrity. I really just like sharing my story, and to be able to share on any platform is amazing. You know what I'm saying? It's super
Yeah,
cool.
and that's why I thought it was a funny question, because having gotten to know you very well, the furthest thing from your mind is fame, it's impact, right? So the book is not about you would love to be a best-selling author, not because of the title of best-selling author, but because that meant that, wow, how many lives have I touched by my book? And so,
Yeah.
and I will tell you that when we start down roads of passion that have others in mind, that the long-term payoff we will, that reap what you sow, and that abundance measure that you give 5 and you get 10 back. I just believe, I'm a big believer in that. And I think that's one of the reasons why you've been so wildly successful in just anything that you do. It sounds to me that whether it be when you were at the liquor company, or whether it's with the cookie company, whether it'll be this book, or whether it'll be the candy company, I just know that Monica is going to always flourish, because she always begins with the end in mind, and that is encouraging and uplifting others.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about. I want to share a story with the audience, and this should be some fun as we're kind of getting close to the end of the show. So Monica and I met on the 22nd of December. I think I shared that earlier in the show, but that very day, I turned out to be bad luck, and
bad luck.
Her fur baby, Ruff, broke his foot, and so I wanted to now the good news is that Ruff is after seeing several specialists and everything else, he is definitely on the mend. So is Ruff there?
Yeah, Ruff's there. You want to see Ruff?
We want to see Ruff. I think everybody out there, the folks that have stuck around to the end.
Let me go grab him.
Okay. Oh my goodness, look at that.
Let me get myself situated here. This is my doggy Ruff.
Yes, and
his cool little cast he's got going on. Sharks, killer sharks.
So now share with the audience, how did he break his foot?
Oh, I wish there was a really fun story, but the truth is he was just going to the bathroom. So the dogs next door, there's 2 dogs that live next door, and Ruff, they like to harass each other and beat each other to the fence. So Ruff was going to the bathroom, and the sliding glass door opens, and I could hear it, and I thought, oh crap, they're going to be coming out. So Ruff goes and charges to the fence as fast as he can, but he must have got his foot stuck in a little rut in the yard somehow, and he didn't make it to the fence. He ended up going around in a circle holding his paw up in the air, because somehow, some way, he ended up breaking it. Yes, right, Ruffy? We don't know. We wish we had a really fun story to tell you, but that's the truth. He just had wrong place at the wrong time, I guess. Wrong angle. And I guess this particular break only happens to like 2% of the animals. Less than 2%. And it's usually like running dogs, like greyhounds and racing. I don't know if he was one in a past life or what, but he wanted to beat the dogs to the fence.
Yeah, so some of Monica and mine's conversations over those first few weeks centered around the dog. And, I think I talked to you one day, y'all were driving back home from getting him looked at up north in Northern California. But we are so glad that Ruff, the man Ruff, is on the mend. And, wow, we have our own fur babies, and they are quite the hoot. As we kind of get towards the end of our show here, I wanted to come back and where do you see Monica going next? I mean, I know we're working on finishing the book. It's kind of in the closing stages. You're kind of relaunching Young Biz. Is there anything else out there that's going on in the land of Monica that you could share with us that you got your eye on, or where you think you're going to go next, other than maybe the candy concept?
Yeah, I really want to focus on inspiring others in whatever capacity I can. My vision of myself is to be a motivational, inspirational teacher, because it's always been in my heart. I told you in kindergarten I was bossy, but I really wasn't bossy. I just think that I like to share with people and give direction. And some people interpret it however they do, but I believe it's just the gift of teaching. And that's part of the reason why I enjoyed all the different roles I've had in different sales positions, or actually being a preschool teacher, you know. So I just want to teach people to tune into their own self. Yes, I believe in the Bible and all of that, right? But at the same time, I think it's very important that you give yourself some credit and you start to love yourself and you believe in yourself and you see yourself and your dreams coming true. Because at the end of the day, you need to choose you. You need to believe in yourself and see the possibilities despite what other people are going to say to you. There's going to be hiccups and there's going to be challenges, but it's so important for you to see yourself where you want to see yourself. Now, if you think about the people who have made a name for themselves, or like the gentleman who left a comment about being famous, he was like, can you tell me how to be famous? The truth is, I think if people know you, doesn't matter if it's 2 people or 1,000 or 1,000,000 people, at the end of the day, if you can make a difference in somebody else's life or inspire them to be who they truly are meant to be, that's what makes you famous, right? You could be famous to one person. You made a difference in one person's life, and that's the goal. I don't think it's necessarily to be a celebrity or to have status in some sort of capacity. I think it's everybody wants to make a name for themselves and to be known by the name, right? Like I want people to know me because I want them to see things about me that they possess in their own selves and look at it as an inspiration. Be like, hey, I've always wanted to open up a cookie company, or I used to want to, take leadership over children, or a company of, I was a district manager for the liquor sales industry, whatever it may be. I feel like everybody's got something inside of them that they want to do, that they just need, like you posted earlier, a mentor or somebody to kind of show them the way.
Absolutely.
And I hope to do that.
So you do a little bit of coaching. So
I do.
if someone is interested in possibly talking to you about doing some coaching with them, is the LinkedIn the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Absolutely. Yes.
All right. So, and I know somebody out there, like Monica said, I talked today about finding that mentor and that coach. So I know someone out there is looking for that person. And I got to tell you, like, Monica's one of the most inspirational people I've ever met, and I would highly, highly recommend. I got news for you. She's everything that she's the real deal. So, as we go home, and you kind of got into it a little bit just then, and I appreciate that. Is for somebody out there right now that's struggling or are at a crossroad in life of pursuing their passion and purpose, do you have any advice for anybody out there on how to go about that, and what is the inspiration you can give them to go and pursue their passion and their purpose?
First of all, stop beating yourself up. Right? I mean, that's so easy to do. I personally have been very critical of myself for pretty much my entire existence, and I decided to switch some gears. I was successful and accomplished things, but it was more like I felt like I had to prove myself to the world in the beginning. And now I just feel like I'm just showing up. I just want to be myself. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. And at the end of the day, there's only you, only one of you. There isn't going to be another. So what I'm seeing, like, especially my daughter, she's 9 years old right now. She's always like, oh, I want to be TikTok famous. I'm like, TikTok famous? Like, at the end of the day, you just become a me too. You're just going to be following whoever else just led the way first, right? She loves this girl named Charlie, and she's always posting. I was like, do you want to be a Charlie too? And she's like, huh? And I was like, seriously, her name's Carly. I was like, Carly, do you want to be a Charlie too, or do you want to be Carly Martin? Do you want people to know you by name? And she was like, I want people to know me. I said, well, if you keep coming up and doing what other people are doing, nobody's going to know you. They're going to just look at you as a copycat from somebody else, right? So my advice to you is, first of all, stop beating yourself up. And then second, just start tuning in. What brings you joy? That's my new slogan right now, is like, tune into joy. So like, what lights your fire? And if you can't even remember because you're so depressed and so like downtrodden, try to go back to things that used to bring you joy. Did you used to like painting and reading, walking? walking or riding a bike or going for hikes, just get in nature, because you'll start to remember. There's something called muscle memory, but I think there's like a personal chip inside of us that just knows. It just lights up, it just clicks, it flickers. You get little glimpses of it around certain people. Your energy will change. You'll be full of excitement, or you'll be drained. Just start paying attention to all of that, and it will all come natural. Like you'll get a vision, it'll be an aha moment or whatever it may be, and you just got to follow through with it.
Yeah, I think that's well said. Sometimes we just got to reboot that ship that you talked about. And so, wow, I think that that's a great place for us to end today, because like I told you before we started the show today, a lot of times this last minute or two is some of the best sound bites of the whole show. So, Monica, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you doing the show with me today, and how much value you brought the audience and myself. It's been a thrill, and thank you again for making time for us, and for everyone there out watching. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Living a Purposeful Lifestyle, and just remember, it's all important thing, passion with a purpose. Till next time, this is Jason Ricks signing out.
Bye. Thank you.